Hello, everyone, and welcome to it is October 9th, and we are going to begin, if my earpiece doesn't fall out, we are going to begin a new political podcast. I'm going to bring on my guest, my compliments in just a second here, but I do want to start out just with a quick kickoff. We have a couple good topics we're going to cover tonight, but I want to remind everybody that October 12th from 2 to 5 p.m. is the Western Clermont County Republican Club Trump cruise in at the Union Township Civic Center. So just to keep this in mind, tell your friends. You can find posts about this on the Western Clermont County Republican Club Facebook page. Everybody is welcome. It should just be a fun event. And cars that are 1995 and before will definitely get a dash plaque. And I have one of those right here. So this is what the dash plaques look like. And then other cars, if we have extras, we'll give them to other classic cars. But also, if you have a Trump decorated vehicle, you can bring that as well. All right. So with that said, let me bring Luiza on. How are you doing, Luiza?
Hey, I'm doing good. Good
Now,
evening, everybody.
let me bring Bill on also. No, you know what? Let's do this. Let's you and I talk and not bring Bill Thomas on this call. Screw him. We're just going to leave him off the stage and he can't talk and he can just listen to us. What do you think of that idea?
Oh, well, that's a good way to keep him quiet.
So Bill Thomas is running late. We pushed this back a little bit. We're going to try to stabilize the time of when these calls take place. He's running late. He thinks he'll be here by 9 o'clock. So Luiza and I are going to start things off and get things rolling here and walk through things. And I told Luiza before the call that my wife claims that I cut her off and interrupt her more than I do Bill. And so I'm going to try not to do that as much, but she'll have more time here to talk. So this is our agenda of what we are going to cover, the key things we're going to cover. A political sign update. That means signs in politicians' yards. Jesse Kramig's new job while we still sit without a municipal court judge. An animal shelter update, and then hot takes and comments. And then I'll bring Bill in as soon as he gets here. And we should come up with some tough questions to ask him right when he gets here, Luiza, about what's going on with him. Okay. All right. Are you ready to go? Are you excited?
Yes, ready.
Okay.
I'm extremely excited about this.
So you went. Why don't you tell people about what you and Bill did last week with going and what you did this week to give an update?
Okay. So I actually had a guest last week that made a comment that it was very confusing for him, the podcast, because he wasn't sure of all the things that were going on. So I'm just going to give a little bit of rundown. Our podcast is educating the county on what is going on in Clermont County politically with our central committee, our Republican Central Committee, as well as our elected officials. We believe that we need to educate the public who's in office and hold the officials accountable for not doing their job. And so last week, myself and Bill Thomas decided to drive around to some homes of our political officials here in Clermont County, and also some of the leadership in the Republican Party. And we drove around to see how many political yard signs did they have in front of their houses. And it was very upsetting, and actually it's disgusting. You know, if I can put my small business online and have all these political signs because that's what I stand for in front of my business, I think that the most that some of these political officials could have, political signs in front of their yards. So we went to Rick Grant. Rick Grant is our vice exec of the Republican Party, and he also
why don't I put him up? Why don't I put him up?
Yeah,
start putting them up, and then you can go through who they are, so we can connect it right with the pictures. And so, and as you know, there's some that were good last week, and I want to reemphasize them. So, all right, who's this one?
So this is Bonnie Batchelor. Bonnie Batchelor is one of our county commissioners, and she was one of the only people that we went to go see that had actual political signs of other candidates, because we do have some candidates who had signs, but only of their own. So Bonnie Batchelor, I was very impressed, and I actually gave her a big hug at the Bernie Marino. I almost knocked her off her feet, because I hold some respect now towards Bonnie Batchelor for actually doing that, because I was surprised, to be totally honest.
I'm always devil's advocate, but we'll take what we can get. If we're proud of our politicians, because at least they get yard signs up, that's a step in the right direction. I did not put in here David Painter because he did not have an update picture this week, but
no, we did not.
So describe Painter's yard last week.
So Painter's yard last week, he does live in a cul-de-sac, which I don't think it's an excuse. I actually have 2 Vietnamese customers that I took yesterday with me to go vote, and they live in a cul-de-sac, and they have Trump signs and issue 1 and Bernie Marino in front of their house that they took from our shop. So there's no excuse for not having a sign if you're in a cul-de-sac. David Painter is the other commissioner for Claremont County, and he's also the executive chair for the party. And he did have a sign. He had his truck with his big sign on the back sitting in front of his house. I don't have an update. David did explain to us last week that there's a lady at the end of his road, and Bill and I did see that she had political signs in front, and he kind of, said that they've given their political signs to her because she's on a main road. So that was David Painter.
Okay, so then real quick, because another one that I didn't leave the picture in was Alan Freeman. And since you mentioned David Painter having his own sign in his yard, real quick, hit Alan Freeman, and then we'll go back to the picture.
So Alan Freeman was quite interesting, because as we were driving to David Painter's house, we drove past Alan Freeman and didn't even know it was his house. And Bill Thomas actually said, I guarantee you that's Alan Freeman's house, because he had a major, huge sign outside his house. And so
for what candidate? Donald Trump? Did he have for Donald Trump, or what did he have out in his yard?
No, for Alan Freeman, for himself. For Alan Freeman. Alan Freeman is running for the clerk of courts in Claremont County. So Alan Freeman had a big sign for Alan Freeman and nothing else. There's no update on his house, if he's got any other signs, because I wasn't able to make it there.
All right, let's go back to the pictures. And this is last week. And this is Joe Eaker. Why don't you explain to people who Joe Eaker is? Week.
Joe Eaker is the treasurer for the Republican Party. And this is what his house looked like last week.
And he's a former state senator for a long time.
Right. Exactly.
And you want to see this week?
We did do the update, and he does have some yard signs in his yard. So way to go, Joe. I'm impressed, because, some other people didn't do it.
Now, right. So we're going to look at the other pictures, but then we'll come back. But we had Joe Eaker actually responded to the embarrassment in a positive way of getting some signs out there. So that's
right.
We all screw up, right? Everybody screws up.
Problem. Right. Be held accountable. And if you screw up, admit it. Right. Just like Jesse Kramig, if he had admitted the first time round, he'd probably still be a judge, but he didn't. So let's move on. Moving on. So Joe, good to go. Okay. This is my favorite person. This is a person that absolutely loves me. This is Mr. Corcoran. Jeff Corcoran is the chairman of the Republican Party. And last week he had a Trump sign, and then in the back is his one of his $4,000 signs that he had made.
Dumb signs.
Which actually, I'm really quite interested to know where these 800 signs are, because when Bernie Marino came out to headquarters last week, there were no Jeff Corcoran signs to be seen anywhere. You would have thought that with all the people that came to see Bernie, that Mr. Corcoran would have had the signs so people could have taken them. And interesting enough, driving around Claremont County, I can count probably half a dozen of these signs that I've seen. So I'm really interested to know
the Republican support signs. Okay.
Right, the Republican support signs.
So let's
now,
go to
this week, Mr. Corcoran actually managed to get a Bernie Marino sign up on the other side. I don't know if you got that. There you are.
There you go.
There's his other side. Woo! Way to go, Jeff.
So,
Good job.
so he's done a great job at getting a Bernie Moreno sign up
No
in his
issue
yard.
one sign up, because unfortunately our chairman does not support issues. So no issue one sign up, and no other candidates.
But he does have, I'll flip back here. He has a Trump sign up because he's a passionate Trump supporter, right?
I believe he is. Isn't that what you saw on Friday?
Yeah, yeah, he is. Yes, he's a passionate Mitt Romney. I mean, Trump supporter. Okay, so let's keep going. Who's this?
All
Rick
right,
Combs.
now this, I have no words for Mr. Combs. When we posted Mr. Combs,
So who is he? You're the one that
last
said we got to
week,
say who he is.
right. So Rick Combs is a Central Committee member, and he is the executive committee member for Miami Township. And last week we went to his house, and he had a Chris Stratton sign, which I'm all for Chris. I have no problem with that. And we had a lot of flack from his daughter on Facebook about the fact that, they're in a cul-de-sac and he's on the BOE. He also sits, he's on the committee at BOE. But interesting enough, they could have a Chris Stratton sign up. So I'm not quite sure, why she was attacking.
Well, by the way,
this
is this week, which is no change, is the same.
No change, except there is a little bit of change. If you look really behind the Chris Stratton sign, there are some graveyard stones for Halloween. So he did add that on, but he didn't add any other signs.
Nice touch. All right, so Rick Grant.
This is Mr. Rick Grant. Rick Grant is the vice exec for the Republican Party, and he also sits on the committee of the Board of Elections. And Mr. Rick Grant, who lives on 133, has got absolutely no signs. You know what? I have no words. I mean, when Mr. Grant,
well, hold on a second here. This was last week.
Last week.
Let me look and see what is this week. Oh, look,
same
the same
thing. Exactly the same.
No nothing. So Rick Grant is a never Trumper, right? He told me he didn't like Trump. And I have a way of getting, as you might have observed, Luiza, with some people getting under their skin. And when I'm under their skin, they blurt things out sometimes. Right. And Rick Grant blurted out to me that he didn't like Donald Trump. So, at least he doesn't have a Kamala sign in his yard.
Right. I think that I'm going to have to rename myself to Christina Hicks, because I'm starting to get a reputation like yours, unfortunately.
Okay, so let's see. So all right. So let's see what else we got now.
I think we have.
Did we have any more? We just have one more. And who have we not covered that you got a new picture on? Who have we not covered? Do you remember even?
Let me think real quick. Joey, Rick Grant, Rick.
Who's our favorite guy?
Oh, who am I missing?
The prayer guy, the guy that does the prayers.
Oh, yes, Mr. Simpson, Mr. Greg Simpson. He
is better known as the chaplain, because he says the prayers all the time, and he claims all these divinity degrees and all this kind of stuff. And he's an absolute pathological liar, smear artist, and antithetical to anything that Christianity stands for. But go ahead.
And was this a picture from last week, or was this?
That's last week. That's last week.
That's last week's.
Because you can see up there, you can see Mr. Simpson. If I do the mouse here, you can even see it. He's up by his
that's right. Yeah, you can see him.
Week. And let's see, I'm sure that the guy who is the former chair of the party.
Right.
We lost you.
Former chair of the party and vice exec for Miami Township.
Yep. State Central Committee. He's the exec for Miami Township, State Central Committee. Patronage appointed by DeWine to the state racing board for horse racing. And let's look at, he was a delegate, right? Wasn't he? Or he went to the convention, or he went to one of the conventions maybe last year.
Went to the
but he's always talking about how big of a Trump guy he is and all this kind of stuff. And now let's look at this week.
Absolutely nothing. And you know what? Here's the thing. Someone that actually got caught in the act, because last week when Bill Thomas was taking the picture, he noticed that it was us. you know, I would have thought that at least he would have had a Trump yard sign put out,
Right.
at least. But hey, Greg, if you don't have any or you can't afford to buy one for $5, I have some because I actually donated $40 to the Central Committee and
Hey,
bought $40 worth of Trump signs.
we didn't do this. I kind of said I would do it, and then we never did it. But if you would like, we can go together, or Bill, you and I can go together. And I have some of the Western Claremont County Republican Club purchased Trump signs. And I'm sure that we could stop by Mr. Simpson's house and he would want us to put, I probably have 4 maybe of them. We can put all 4 in his yard if he wants, because I'm sure he would like a Chris Hicks Western Claremont County
what we need
Republican
to
Club
do.
sign. Huh?
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do for this coming week. I think we actually need to take signs to these people and tell them, hey, you probably didn't have time to get to
Right.
headquarters.
Well, I think
but
I'm mostly interested in Mr. Simpson because I think he's, you know, an exemplar for us, and with all his praying and his being a chaplain and everything for the party, he really should do it. So, all right. Any other comments on the sign escapade?
No, I'm still wondering where the Corcoran signs are. I'd really like to know where our 800 signs are and where. I mean, who's got them? I don't know who has them. It just seems like a
I
waste
didn't put it
of
up, but they
$4,000.
had. So people that are unfamiliar, you know, there's a central committee, and then there's a lot of townships that are fairly small in terms of how many members from that township are on the committee. Union Township is pretty big, so Union and Miami are like 38 seats each, and in Union, unlike Miami, we have regular meetings. So the exec for Union was giving out the Corcoran signs, had the Corcoran signs, and there were some people that took them, but Andy Capel, the exec, had to pack most of them back up in his car because nobody even took them at the dumb Jeff Corcoran signs. You know, Luiza. Before we move on, you know, I listen to Dan Bongino sometimes, and Dan Bongino likes to bring up that the Democrats don't have a brand issue. That people that are Democrats like the Democrat brand, you know, and that Republicans have a brand issue of rhinoism and stuff like this, but Trump doesn't have a brand issue. You know, like Trump is a brand that's more. And so I get at one level, you could say, yes, we need to help the brand, you know, by having stuff like what Jeff Corcoran is saying. But I don't think this is the time in a presidential election. That's stuff to do in between elections to try to. And one of the things that's important to remember for those signs, it is like Israel free. I love that one of the signs is free speech because you and I both experienced the lack of free speech in Central Committee meetings. But there's no Second Amendment sign. Jeff Corcoran has no Second Amendment sign of the like 8 slogans that he put on signs. You know, Israel, free speech. You know, I can't remember the other ones, but Second Amendment didn't make the cut. So
they you know, outstanding signs that we can really remember what they say.
Right. So, all right, let's move on to our next topic, which is about Jesse Kramig. And I did a personal live stream about Jesse Kramig last a couple days ago. And so some people may or may not have seen that. So let's talk about this. I'm going to start it out by talking about by the way, here's somebody that says, Robin says, Corcoran is not my favorite person. Those signs cost $4,000. And so that's it. So I don't mean to pick. I put Robin's up there. You know, if you comment, you can always get put. You know. By the way, oh, and I got to put this. So I have somebody else here about Jeff. Remember the new motto: "Allow no speech during meetings." That should be a sign. Republicans believe in no speech during meetings.
Yeah. You should have made that sign. Yep.
So okay, let's talk about Jesse Kramig. So Jesse Kramig, you know, a couple things happened this week vis-a-vis Jesse Kramig, and I already did a stream on this. But one is I found out that I got reported to the Ohio Disciplinary Council for supposedly practicing law for having put a few Facebook posts relating to the whole Jesse Kramig, Allison Kersker kerfuffle. And so then it turns out Gary Rosenhofer, who used to give me all sorts of secret under the table information about stuff going on in the court system, he's the one who filed against me. He's now the counsel for Allison Kursker. Scott Croswell, who's the mouthpiece liar for Jesse Kramig. Rosenhofer and Croswell practice out of the same office in Batavia. And, Kramig and Kursker are all hooked up literally and figuratively. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's plenty of stuff. You can go to my Facebook page or go to the press and learn all about this in the Great Lie of 2023. That Kramig wasn't engaged with Allison Kursker.
Well, Chris, why don't you first say, tell people who Jesse Kramig is?
So Jesse Kramig is we're not going to be able to cover, if you have not heard anything about this, there's lots of stuff we can go learn about it. But Jesse Kramig is a municipal court judge, was a municipal court judge, a Christian family values man. And while endorsed and running for office, it came to light that he was basically using his subordinate for his sexual gratification in and out of the courthouse and in local parks. There was an extreme cover-up. People absolutely lied for him being interviewed by the authorities. I believe Stephanie Boyer lied. Allison Kursker herself lied. Judge Nagel lied, or Judge Nagel conveniently omitted the truth. There might be a way to say it. There were a lot of people that lied in part of this cover-up. The behavior went on between Kramig and Kursker. I eventually caught him in a parking lot in a brief cheater-style video, engaged in the activity that had never gone on. And so he resigned. Now we have an opening in the municipal court. And I had heard a long time ago, this happened in 2023, summer 2023, it was all covered up. In summer of 24, basically, is when I caught him. So they thought they got away with it. They thought they got away with the cover up. And they got caught, and literally and figuratively, with their pants down. And so that ended it. And but now I'm, because in Claremont County, I think you can get this, Luiza. The bad guy is the guy that exposed the corruption, right? Because you're not supposed to expose the corruption. You're supposed to, and Gary told me back in the summer of 2023, he didn't see anything wrong with what Kramig did. As long as she was of age, it's good to go. And he actually told me another judge did the same thing. And that judge, who's still a sitting judge, never got held accountable. So why should Kramig get held accountable? And to me, I'm never
on our time.
I'm never going to become some woke, feminist type guy or something. But when men in power take advantage of young women, that is wrong, and it is antithetical to anything that we stand for as Republicans. And I don't know what Luiza. I heard some her grandson going on in the background, so we'll see when she gets back. So anyway, so that's the story with what happened there. This is Gary Rosenhofer is referring me to the disciplinary council. What I had done is I had posted some things that basically told Allison Kursker to not shine anything, to get a Garrity warning, which is like a Miranda rights for a government employee, and don't trust any lawyer from Claremont County. And that apparently all equates to me practicing law, I guess, even though I've never met or talked to Allison Kursker. And Gary's coming after me. And I absolutely have my response pretty much already written. And I absolutely want to have this be a hearing, because I wanted there to be a complaint. It's in the mode that's called investigation. I want there to be a complaint, and I want there to be a hearing, because I would love it. And everybody out there in the legal community, I hope you all enjoy it. You all want the same thing, so that we can fully investigate what has happened, what has transpired with me in this practice of law. So let's keep going on to the next thing here. So it turns out, this is where it gets really kind of exciting and interesting, is that it turns out that, hold on, I'm going to bring Bill on. Bill's here now. Hey, Bill, Luiza stepped away. You're here. I'm trying to squint my eyes to see who's here and who isn't right now. So it turns out that that Jesse Kramig, I got a tip that Jesse Kramig had been given a job by Governor DeWine. And then I found out from another tip that there's a place you can go. And I put the web address up here on the top of this chart. And you can search for the phone number of any Ohio government employee. And it turns out that Jesse Kramig is working for the, if you look at that Department of Administrative Services, he has a job there. This is his boss. Her name is Kathleen Madden. She worked in the AG's office. Why is that important? Kramig worked in the AG's office when he worked for the state. So they might have known each other.
Oh, man.
Okay. So, and by the way, Matthew Donahue, I'm throwing stuff out here you might not know. So Matthew Donahue is the chief legal counsel to Governor DeWine, and he worked in the AG's office, and he is involved with getting us a replacement judge for Jesse Kramig. And so that is kind of the beginning of the tip of the iceberg. And I like putting this up. And then, Bill, I'm going to open it up to you to comment on this, because I like this. And let's hope I don't have any typos in this, because I think this says it all. For Governor DeWine, Jesse's new job came before us getting a new judge. So Jesse, the pervert judge, gets a new job in the DeWine administration before we get a replacement judge in our totally messed up municipal court that is short now 2 judges. So, Bill, I know you have been a passionate supporter of Jesse Kramig. No, that's a joke.
And Mike DeWine.
So, and Mike DeWine, what's your thoughts on this? You're happy to see
honestly,
Jesse?
I'm not even going to waste the time on this call to even say a lot about it. It's so absolutely preposterous. Not only the fact that we weren't appointed a judge, and Nathan Little and the rest of them are just sitting on the sidelines awaiting, and they're protecting an insider through the AG's office. They're all protecting their own. It's almost like the prosecutor's office, but it's at the state level. It's like
Yep.
Sometimes you get so discouraged. You're like, what can you do to stop all the nonsense? I mean, and the answer is, we always go back to this: change the central committee and start getting people taken out.
Right.
Change the state central committee. Stop the money that's going into these campaigns. It's the only way to fix it. That's it. There is no other way.
Well, and you can't replace. The
And
key
hold
thing is
them accountable.
we can't replace the people with a new set of corrupt people. And that kind of happened in Claremont County with the Tea Party. Is what happened is they knocked off the people that were corrupt, and then the next round of people that came in, a lot of them, like David Ubel, had similar corruption type issues. So
I'm going to bring up.
I can see what's going to happen now with the appointment of the next judge for our municipal court. I mean, if Katie Terpstra gets in, then we know the fix is in.
The fix is totally in.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I have a lot of respect for Nathan. Nathan knows I like him. He's a good guy. He's a loyal conservative, but he has a relationship with Linda Fraley. And my advice, Nathan, if you're watching, you need to sever that relationship, because that is a dirty dotted line that you don't want behind you. Everybody that's an elected official, as long as you're dotted line to Linda Fraley, you're going to have problems. It's just because there's always going to be this underlining undertone that, hey, I got you elected. Oh, I put in for you. I got you where you're at. And you're going to feel obligated. You don't want to be part of that club. You need to be a club of yourself and serve for yourself, for the people and the people that you represent. That's it. No one else. Yeah. People can bring so much complexity in the world of being an elected official. Being an elected official, don't do for money. Be in there, work for the people. It's that simple. Work for the people. It's like the commissioners today. I don't know if you guys have gone over that, but
no.
It's it took people railing on this topic. Right. They could have done this.
That's our next topic. So that's our next topic. I think that
segue into it.
I'm not because in our new world of where we can agree and disagree on things, I'm not a fan of Nathan, but for me, it's the same thing that we're talking about, Bill, is I think that Nathan is too loyal to the party, to Tim Rudd, to Linda Fraley, to the party establishment. So certainly the advice you're giving Nathan, should he be appointed, to distance himself from that, is advice I would give him, is to don't get tied in, don't become the next Jesse Kramig, okay, in this. And, I think in these things, we need to have outsiders, is what we need. To me, what we so desperately need is outsiders in some of these offices. Because if just one or two true outsiders got in any of these offices, it would start to really transform the system, because it would break up the little, crony clique of people. Okay. Any more comments on this topic?
Again, Nathan Little and Katie Terpstra were candidates together with what was the other lady's name? Jessica Little.
Jessica Little.
They were running for.
No relation to Nathan Little.
Right. They were running for the municipal court, and the two that have gone up to Mike DeWine was Nathan Little and Katie Terpstra, and we are waiting on Mike DeWine to appoint a judge, which we would like it sooner than later, because unfortunately we have visiting judges that are falling asleep on the bench.
Well, I believe also, by the way, and I can't say this 100% sure, but I did text some people, and I believe that Anita Beckman is out on medical leave right now.
Right.
She had a medical issue and had to have surgery and was going to be out for 3 months or something like that. So if that's correct, I think it's correct, but I'm not 100% sure. But that would mean that we are down 2 judges in our dysfunctional municipal court, and we know we have a court administrator who lied while being interviewed by we know that they're good with lying at times. It's a dysfunctional court in municipal court. It needs to get cleaned up. We desperately need an appointment. We need whoever gets appointed to demonstrate their ability to be a change agent, to improve the court, and to make it more responsive to the people. You guys agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Chris, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions real quick. So one question is, Chris, are you an attorney?
Hold on, I'll throw that up here.
Chris is not an attorney, but it's up for debate at this point. You never know what's going to come out of that hearing.
Well, don't finger me. Okay, so I told my wife, I think that if I were an attorney, sometimes I'd be like, oh, I could have been an okay attorney, but I think I would have been disbarred. I think I absolutely would have been disbarred. I kind of you guys know, there's some attorneys I like, but generally I despise attorneys because it's a club, it's a self-regulating profession. So as an aside, discipline for attorneys is done by other attorneys. So if you're an attorney and you go out there and shoot your mouth off on things you shouldn't, your colleague attorneys, like in Claremont County, will sanction you. So that's why the attorneys all stay within a certain range, because they're a self-regulating profession. Did you see any other comment here that you wanted me to put?
Nathan Little. Yeah. That one's easy. And then Logan, if you're an outsider, you're qualified to come to our meetings and join Central Committee in 2026.
Absolutely.
We want you to run. That's it. Yep. There's no other qualifications. If you have a willingness to learn and you're an outsider, join Central Committee.
There's a quiz. If Corcoran's daughter comes, there's going to be a quiz. So you have to, I think the key thing is that you have to be somebody who truly is committed to reform, and you have a moral and ethical compass. And one of the things too is that you're not going to let yourself get played. We need to, because what happens is people come in that are new and they have this attitude of if somebody like me comes up to them and said, you realize all these people here are scum of the earth, the long-term people, they'll be like, oh no, we got to give them a chance. We got to give them a chance. We got to give, and don't fall for it, because that's what they live on. They live that you get 40% new people every term. And then the guile of the insiders gets them to think, oh, these are actually good people. And then usually the people wake up at some point, 3 years into the term, and realize, oh my God, I've been rolled. And then they don't run again. So that's why you always have that kind of turnover. Okay. Any other comments on this, guys?
No, I think we need to move on. It's 9:10.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing we were going to hit on is the animal shelter. Now, I did a stream on the animal shelter from my Hicks Watchdog page earlier today, and I just wanted to put up here because I think it's amusing. So here, let me lay it out real quick here. I'm going to try to be quick on time, but you can go. So the commissioners today, after a 3-hour executive session, at a certain time in the afternoon, finally said that they were going to consider putting the shelter out for bid. And then they instructed Tom Eigel, the county administrator, to put together a bid. And that's kind of where it went. There was a whole festoon. You can go watch it on what I did, in which I gave him public presentation. I like to ask them questions and make them sit there awkwardly. One was if they would appear on a stream with us, and I think I told both you and Bill and Luiza. I think I told you both. They said no. Right. And I asked them if I could go over and film inside the shelter, and they said no. They said Painter said it's not a yes and it's not a no. I don't know what that means. Not a yes, not a no. Okay, we'll take it under advisement. Okay, so after the meeting, there was this absurd 3-hour executive session, by the way, that they have to have been talking about shit other than what they were supposed to be talking about in an executive session. There's just no way it would take this long. And I think I told some people, I think I might have told you, Bill, that they came back from executive session after like maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes. They got up at the front to start, and then they left the room again saying, oh, no, we're still in executive session. And it was the strangest thing I ever saw in one of those meetings. I think that, and I'll talk about this, I think what they were doing was buying time because there were reporters there, and then they ultimately took the reporters over for a backroom tour of the shelter. So Channel 19 was there. They came in late in the meeting. They came in while the executive session was going on. They had a story up around 4:30 today. Local 12 was there the whole time. And this is the reporter, Chelsea Sick. And she was going to, we had a long time during executive session. She was going to, I told her, like, well, I'm going to go over and try to film. And she's like, well, we want to follow you over there to try to film. When they ended the meeting after the executive session, after they said they were going to change it, Painter pulled the reporters back into his office. And then the next thing I know, like, I left and went over to the shelter to film. And then the next thing I know, they're bringing all the Painters showing up over at the shelter. I was told citizens aren't allowed to go film in the back room of the shelter. And Painter came in. I asked him, that's Angie Livesay in the picture there. I asked her, nope, can't come in. But then they brought all the reporters in and let them come film some in the back room of the show. It was a complete dog and pony show that I'm sure that I just feel like Local 12 News in particular. It'd be interesting. You guys and I have never talked about this, and this could be controversial. They could be so much better. They used to be so good, I thought, when Walter Smith Randolph was there and Anjanette Levy were there. And now they have this kind of like reporting crew that is, you got to be careful of any reporters because they'll report what the power people want them to report because they want access to those people. But that's what happened. But after all of this, the shelter supposedly is going to go up for bid. I think there's people like the volunteers that came and complained for months and months. There is Megan Daschle, who did a lot to get social media attention on this. I don't even know her, never talked to her. And I think one of the things I did was by challenging them is, it's funny how when I brought up in the meeting that I was going to engineer a alternate slate card to appear at the polling locations to say to leave your ballot blank for, and if you see it close, it says leave it blank for Painter and Bachelor because of the festoon at the shelter. But it also said, you guys might think this is very controversial. It also has on there, let's see if I can get it up there. I don't know where to put it. Okay. It also says to leave Gene Schmidt and Alan Freeman blank for being household or campaign finance crooks on your ballot. No, but it does say vote for Hava Loudon on there. And in all other races, vote for Republicans. Okay. And so I had two versions of this. And today I brought this up as like, and I have it booked. November 2nd from 1 to 4 is pickup time at the Miami Township Library, Room B, if you want to hand out slate cards because So here's my thing, and I said this on my stream, is they have 3 commissioner meetings now between now and November 2nd to get this RFP out the door. Okay. If they get the RFP out the door, this ain't going to happen. Okay. But you have got to hold these people's feet to the fire because they do not, I tell people it's just half the battle to get them to concede things. So, all right. I talked a lot about a little bit what happened. It's probably not totally clear. But what do you guys want to say about this?
It's absolutely disgusting that there's no transparency. How are these people running up for re-election and not allowing it to be transparent? I don't understand this. I don't get it.
What I told Chris is I think there's several things that go on here. I think that the animal shelter was a disaster. I think it was a disaster even before the current commissioner board came on. I think there were problems with it previously. Disagree with me, whatever. I think there have been problems with the animal shelter before.
I think it's always been underfunded, and it's not a good building.
Right, and it goes back to the advice that I'd given them, which was put like you would have senior citizens or senior services levy. It doesn't increase your taxes. It just reappropriates more money from the county to that budget, which could potentially, we could see a tax increase if the county budget drops, but you could reappropriate money into the animal shelter. If the people say yes, then the answer is yes. The problem is I don't want to put Commissioner Painter down, but it's just, I told him I disagree with him on this. He doesn't believe that people are going to vote for it. Well, you're a commissioner. You were voted in. Put it on. Let's see what happens. Put it on the ballot. Let's see what happens. Let's see if people want to devote another $500,000, $1 million to animal shelter. It's the people of Clermont County's money. We need to take cats in. This idea that he does not want cats in the animal shelter, I told him I don't agree with that either. But the bottom line is, I think that I don't believe all the problems with the animal shelter rest on the commissioners. I think delaying the inevitable, which that was today, getting it back out of their hands could have been done forever ago, and some of this drama could have been prevented. But it boils down to this. Sometimes if you're in an elected position, it's okay to stand up in front of a group of people and say, I made a mistake. Here's a mitigation plan. Here's how we're going to fix it. We're going to get back on track. It's that simple, guys. It really is that simple. Take the pride off the table. Just simply say, you know what? I may not made the best decision here. Hey,
or in hindsight, and it's not even screwed up. It's like it's that sometimes the screw up here is letting it go on so long. Okay. But you do something and you realize it wasn't the right decision. And then you got to be able to admit that. And I don't understand you and I, Bill, I think would say the same thing. The political class we've come to see, they're just seem to be unable to admit that the decision was bad, and now this is what we're going to do to fix it. But anybody else, I'm sure you've made bad decisions. I've made bad decisions.
Every day.
Bad decisions. Step one is admit you made a mistake.
I always tell people I'm not Jesus. If I was Jesus, I'm the one who would be on the cross. But that is the biggest problem. David Painter, I used to respect him. And lately, I just feel like he's just another politician giving me lip service. And I'm sick and tired of it. I need to see the works. I don't want to hear the words anymore. I'm tired of it.
That's a Dan Bongino, by the way. Never more any politicians, only on what they actually do, not what they say.
You know what? Logan just put something in the chat. Logan, that is an absolute brilliant, fantastic, true statement. 100% accurate. I couldn't say it better than myself. Yep. Integrity requires accountability. Every elected official that's watching this, even if you're watching it at 3 a.m, so you don't want to get caught. That statement right there, take that and apply that to everything that you do every day. It would change the perception of who you are. It may be hard. You may have to be Joe Braun, stand up in your underwear in front of 1,000 people and say, I did something I shouldn't have done. It may come to that. But the bottom line is simply this. Just admit when you're wrong. That's integrity.
So
Be
since I
accountable.
can't, I'm gonna put this up. Nobody typed this. I typed it, but I'll put it up here just because I want to say this too, because I think this is another one. Competent people do not fear inspection.
Yeah.
You know, if you're if you know, in fact, if you're very good at you don't like irritating, idiots inspecting you. But if you're
Right.
good at what you do, you take pride in your work. You want to show people what you're doing. Like, you.
Well, and I think this is going to segue into our next topic, but I'm going to bring up Mike Logue because he loves it when I bring him up. I actually considered him a friend, not just somebody that I knew through politics. I respected Mike Logue. I helped with his campaign behind the scenes, gave him advice, helped him get elected. Several of us did. That Rumpke Road people did most of the work. We believed in Mike, and I think over time Mike has gotten drifted into, having pictures with Houston, getting into, I know this politician, who cares? Look, dude, we just want to see you run Union Township, and grow at this level, be better. But when you simply get up in front, like, Mike, I love you to death. I really do. You may not believe that, but I do. But it kills me to watch what you did in the trustee meeting about the keys in the car. Just, hey, screwed up. Keys got left in the car. Let's see if your wife. Hold on, Luiza.
Tell the people who Michael Logue is real quick.
He's a Union Township trustee, and he's he's been a vet. He's a veteran.
He's on the Central Committee.
He's on this. Well, I mean, I don't ever see
him. I want to net out here because this isn't actually a topic for tonight, but
it segues into the integrity of people. How do you take somebody?
But just so people know what we're talking about,
right? So
he had his car got stolen out of his yard, and in a trustee meeting, he used it as an opportunity. He could have said nothing about his car, right? He talked about his car getting stolen out of his yard in the middle of the night. He has like 5 times he said it was after Bible study, and then he started talking about how the great Union Township Police and that inner city kids were figuring out how to boost cars using some sort of tablets or something like this. And then it turns out that the reality of it is, and he knew at the time he was saying this, his wife had left the keys in the car. And so that, by the way, I said this, and when I did something like this, even when you do this, there is no excuse for stealing people's shit. There is no excuse. And what happened was 100% wrong and 100% unacceptable. But why not just use that as a teachable moment to tell the members of the community, hey, if you live in Union Township, make sure you lock your car, keep your garage door down. That's simple, basic stuff. Probably a lot of people in Claremont County, when I would go out to Bethel where my dad lived, he would leave probably the keys in the car and everything unlocked because he lived in the country and didn't have any fear. You can't live that way in Union Township. You have to take the basic precautions.
What's crazy to me, Chris, is he knows that you're watching him like a hawk. Like, if I'm Mike Logue's political person, I'm banging my head against the wall saying, why would you give Chris Hicks more ammunition to come after you? Like, that just opens the door to say, Chris is going to request the body cam footage. Chris is going to.
I did request the body cam footage, and I don't have it yet. There's a delay on that.
People are not truthful, and when you're not truthful, you are always trying to hide the next lie. That's the problem.
But Luiza, I think the point here is that in Mike's head, he's gone off track, and this goes for all of our politicians. What happens is, Bernie said it the other day. If when you get to Washington, it's just you're wore out, you're exhausted. Like, if you can't maintain having integrity at the local political level, don't consider going to Washington because you won't last at all. If you're going to get tied up and swamped in at the local level, you're not going to prevail at a national level because it's 50 times worse at a national level. So we need candidates. When we're looking for candidates, we need to find out not just how to get them elected, but how do we keep them on track? Because they have to be supported. They have to be supported.
And I'll go scriptural. So the scripture calls on all of us to have wise counsel in our lives.
Right.
And sometimes these political types, I think, end up not having wise counsel. They end up having political vipers and demons and stuff in their ear, telling them what to do. And they need to make sure to keep their feet on the ground. And that's regular people. So, by the way, I'm going to count this as our next topic was hot takes and comments. So, Bill, your hot take was Michael Logue. I want to bring up too here. By the way, when we're talking about the animal shelter, I think this is extreme, but I know Franklin spaying and neutering the whole county is probably not the solution to our problem. But then somebody, Bill Jenkins asked, is there a spreadsheet as to where all the tax dollars go, then to what offices? There is a thing on Linda Fraley's website, on the auditor website, that is like a transparency thing, but it is not clear. And one of the things I'll look into, I don't know if you guys knew this, there used to be an annual report created for the county. There used to be an annual report, kind of like a corporate annual report that would have, and it would tell you what you needed to know without going into detail about where all the money was going. And they quit. There were a couple of years they didn't do it. I don't know if they have come back to do it or not. But I will check on that, Bill, because that was a very useful document that most people didn't even know existed. That would show you how your tax dollars got split between all the agencies and departments. Okay, Luiza, do you have a hot take that you want to? Something that wasn't on the
I want to
agenda
know where the 800 signs are of Jeff Corcoran, $4,000 that we spent on these marvelous signs, and I probably have seen half a dozen of them in Claremont County. I want to know where these signs are.
So
you know what? He had no problem in sending out an email and telling the executives to call the precinct members and tell them that he wanted to know exactly where those signs were.
Yeah, the email address and an address on where everyone went.
I think he needs to produce that list. I want to know where those signs are.
All right, calm down, Luiza. Let Bill talk.
When I was at headquarters, I saw all the signs sitting on the table. There weren't 800, but there were a lot. So what they did is they divvied them out per X amount per township, or not precinct, but per township. So then the executive of that township is responsible for taking those signs and distributing them throughout their committees. So so if you go down there, you'll see Freeman's is still sitting down there, even though Freeman's committee members are like, where are our stuff? Where are our slate cards? Where are Alan, if you're going to be an exec, do your job, buddy. Go get the stuff. But all of Pierce's, you'll see a sign that says Pierce and a buku of signs just leaning up against. So
a lot of these places don't have they don't have regular meetings of their committees. So if Alan Freeman wanted to distribute them, now they don't probably have a regular Pierce meeting. I don't know if they do or not.
Well,
but
can I add to that?
Them.
So Judy Kasika, who's my executive, she called me about 10 days ago, actually before the pancake breakfast. And she said, Luiza, Jeff Corcoran has assigned these signs to the executives for the precincts, and each one of us has got 3 signs. Now, we know your shop is not in Goshen Township, but do you think you can put your 3 signs outside your shop? No, I don't think so. I'm not putting out Jeff Corcoran signs, sorry, because Jeff doesn't love me. So no, he doesn't get the love back either.
Well, it's in Union Township, and people might not be understanding this, there's the central committee and then there's the township groups within it. And in Union Township, I said this earlier, Bill, I think before you were here, we had our meeting on Monday and Andy Capel had them out and very few of them seemed to get taken. So Andy Capel had to pack them back in his car, I guess. I went to have something to eat with John Lips. I did. But the other thing that's funny about those signs is the disclaimers are wrong. And Jeff knows the disclaimers are wrong. He made no effort to fix it because he basically wants to just send an FU that he doesn't have to follow any of the rules. And I asked the Board of Elections about it, and they said, we'll see what happens. But it's just, stupid. And you know what's dumb is I don't know that whether the signs are right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, I think they're dumb, but I don't think there was any input from the Central Committee on any of it. Jeff just does whatever the hell he wants. And here's your signs. And things that he's promised forever, like we're going to give you data to use to go door to door in your neighborhood, that never happens.
You know what? Actually, Jeff Foxworthy, where he says, "Here's your sign." Well, there you are, Jeff. Why doesn't Jeff Corcoran have all of those 8 different signs that he's so designed and they
on
are
his
so
front
great
of his house?
on his front, exactly. Thank you.
All right, so let's kind of wrap it up. We're getting here to an hour.
I thought we were doing an update on the signs.
We
We already did that.
Oh, you did that first, man.
Yes,
You let me miss that one.
Yes, you're gonna have to go back and watch it.
You want to comment?
I don't need to comment. I think everybody knows how I feel about Simpson having no signs.
Well, what do you think? I want to go. I'm good with. You weren't here, Bill, but let's wrap it up on this note. I think I have maybe 4 or so of the Western Klamath County Republican Club Trump signs, and maybe the 3 of us should go out to Greg's house sometime in the next week and offer them to him to put in his yard, so that he can have some Chris Hicks Trump signs in Greg Simpson's yard.
When he denies it, I want it on video. I mean, I put it on Alex Trinafilu's Facebook about state central committee members not representing candidates. We'll see if Alex decides to respond or not. But as the chairman of the state central committee, I hold him accountable for not holding his people accountable to support candidates.
Right.
That's their job.
Right.
Simple.
By the way, just to hit a couple of these comments before we call it a night. So Kyle says there's many still laying at Republican headquarters, and my bet is there's many in Andy Capple's trunk of his car, and there's many in different places. And by the way, just as an aside, we have these dumb signs, but did we get a mail piece in the mailbox before early voting started?
Nope.
No. Do we have a mail piece that's going to be interesting to independent voters? No.
Hold on. Before you say that, that's not entirely true. There is a chaser that's been developed, and it is scheduled to go out to independent voters.
Well, it can only go out to some because only 15,000 was budgeted for them, and that won't cover very many of them.
I don't know the numbers. I just know that.
The chaser, we'll see it. We got a rundown on this at the Union Township meeting that they're going to use a traditional slate card looking thing. That's what Andy Capple said. The thing that my wife did, they thought it was really nice, but we don't want to use that because Chris Hicks did it. So we'll see. My key point is you talk about, remember, Jeff Corcoran on and on about how we need to do early voting, this kind of stuff, but we don't have something in the mailbox when early voting starts, right? That's the key point. It should have been this week. It should have arrived in people's mailbox, whatever we're going to have. All that being said, I don't mean to go on and on. It's just stunning. We can speculate, by the way, as to what's going on or what we're doing. But the reality is, Luiza, I think you go to pretty much every central committee meeting. There's some that I've missed, especially because I'm suspended and they try to arrest me and shit. Okay. But and I would say, would you say you're informed, you get informed on any of this stuff, or you just find out after the fact, oh, we're doing this. It doesn't seem like there's ever any input requested from the central committee. It's like I don't think it's even the executive committee. I think a very small group of people, just like Jeff is named Jeff Corcoran, do whatever they want.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe I can start charging for mileage.
Right.
Because, whenever I go to a meeting, I'm not allowed to speak. People get assaulted and it's okay. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a waste of time, but I go because I want to be a pain in the ass.
And you have, and I don't mean to be going on too, I just say this, the priorities, like some dumbass Jeff Corcoran signs are a greater priority than having anyone meet the candidate night.
Right.
Now, Bernie Moreno did his thing that you both went to, and it looked like, I saw pictures, looked like a pretty good turnout for that.
Yep.
Why aren't we doing meet the candidate nights? Are turning those things into bigger things so that people can meet our candidates. And it is outrageous that we do these things that are going to have almost no impact. I think Jeff's signs will have this much impact. Okay. But doing some like a rally in Union Township, a rally in Miami Township, having a plan, maybe even thinking about the western side of the county that's going blue. But these guys don't do any of that stuff. And Jeff Corcoran's answer is, why don't we make some dumbass signs and we'll put those out, and that'll cause liberals to become conservatives when they see that sign.
Why didn't we take $4,000 and make some more Trump signs so we could actually give them away for free?
Right. So $4,000 could have bought probably 2,500 to 3,000 Trump signs.
Yep.
So because there's a design element that Jeff doesn't do either. He makes signs that have designs on them that make the printing cost more. Because when you have a real artist know what they do, they know how to use the color to create the illusion of there's more colors than are actually.
I was what's a funny story. So I was driving with somebody that I don't recall. They're not political person. But we were driving down one of the roads, and there were it's a house that had 2 or 3 of the Corcoran signs. And we were going down, I think it was on Branch Hill, Guinea. And they looked real quick and they said, "What did those signs say? You can't read them."
Too busy.
That was last week, Friday, when we were driving around.
Was that you? Was that
Yes.
you in the car?
Yeah, and you said I couldn't even read what it said.
You know, my wife, I sent one alternate that I had that was because, my wife is not a super political person. She's super conservative, but she's never going to come to a meeting or anything. But, she knows how to do art and she knows how to if you're trying to get it on a sign, how to make it as readable as possible. Just in case anybody wonders, if you see any of those leftover Claremont County as Trump country signs up anywhere, that's my wife's work, And so these people actually seem like they have a disdain for using proper design and professional looking design on things. So you get Jeff and maybe his wife or whoever the hell in PowerPoint making the signs, and they're going out. All right, we've gone on long enough, guys. I want to thank you both for Bill and Luiza for being part of this. I want to thank everybody that listened tonight. And we're going to try to stabilize the time that we start, so we always know what time we're going to start. But hang in there with us, and we appreciate you. And hopefully this is informative, or at least gets people on the path. And the final thing, we are going to try to start doing some educational modules, like on how to file a court of claims and so forth. But Luiza, I got to be real careful right now because I got Gary Rosenhofer up my ass. If I tell anybody where the website is to file a court of claims, maybe I could be sanctioned that I'm pretending to be a lawyer. So any event, thank you all. Have a great evening and great rest of the week. Bye.